And welcome, everyone. So glad to have you joining with me tonight on this edition of our Maranatha live session. And just before we get started here, I'm going to bring my son, Jamison Frank, on with us here in just a moment, and then I'll explain to you why I'm bringing him on tonight. But just before we get started, I just want to make a couple quick announcements. I want to remind everyone that this coming Saturday, 10 o'clock is our second portion of our Modesty and Holiness, Biblical Modesty and Holiness seminar. That's going to be at 10 o'clock. That is going to be live streamed on YouTube. And also at 11 o'clock is going to be the second portion of our men's seminar on the subject of dominion. And this Saturday, we're going to be discussing dominion over Satan. So we talked about dominion over self last Saturday. We're going to talk about dominion over Satan. We've got two more sessions to go, but we're going to pull those off until sometime in the fall. I didn't want to do, four Saturdays in a row during the summer because I know so many people are going on vacation. I do have one quick update, however, and that is that our men's banquet that we were going to have for lack of a better term, I've been calling it a banquet. I guess we're just going to try to have a cookout. We're going to try to have a catered cookout, actually. But it turns out there's not enough men that can actually stay for the banquet. Again, someone told me not to call it a banquet, but I don't know, a cookout, men's cookout. There's not enough men that can stay for a cookout. I was going to actually hire a barbecue company to come in and do a spread for us, but we just don't have enough participants. So after the seminar, whoever's available, I think we're just going to maybe drive over to Jumpin' Jacks or some other place that we all agree on and just have a bite to eat with one another. So that'll be right after the seminar on Saturday, noonish, right around noontime. And whoever can go, we'll just go over, grab a bite to eat, enjoy a little bit of fellowship together. All right. Okay. So tonight I'm going to do something a little bit different. And that is I am going to bring my son Jamison on here. And the reason I'm bringing him on is I feel very bad about what happened. He preached a week ago, this past Sunday. He spoke to us at our 10:30 service. If you remember, if you were there, obviously you probably weren't at both services, but at 8:30, my son-in-law, Michael Rausch, spoke. And then at the 10:30 service, Michael Rausch was over starting Sunday school that day, and Brother Jamison Frank came in and he spoke to us at our 10:30 service. We've been doing this for a year, more than a year. And why that particular day, I have no clue, but that particular day we had glitches in our recordings. If you watched Michael Rausch's sermon that Sunday morning at the 8:30 service, you'll notice that there were some sound issues here and there. Not enough to where you couldn't understand what was going on, but there were portions of it where it was, jumbled a little bit. And then when, of course, for Jamison's message was so, the recording was so bad we couldn't even put it up. We couldn't put it up. And yet it was such a powerful message. And I felt horrible that it wasn't recorded because I want to listen to it again. And I love listening to, I listen to my own. I listen to my own for the sake of improving, listen to what I did wrong, listen to what, I did stupid and try to make myself better. But I listen to others. I listen to Brother Michael. I listen to Brother Jamison. I listen to other preachers so that I can glean from them and draw from them and hear things that I didn't hear the first time. And you'll find that anytime you re-listen to a sermon, you'll hear things you didn't hear the first time. I went to listen to his and it wasn't there. I talked to Michael and there was nothing he could do. So I said, I'm going to bring Jamison on Wednesday night. We're going to talk about that sermon because it was a powerful sermon. So without any further ado, I think Jamison just walked away from his camera just for a moment. So let me give him a chance to get back. And as soon as he gets back, I'm going to get him on here. It was a powerful sermon. There he is. He's back. So I'm going to get him on here now. And here we go. And there he is, Jamison.
Hey.
So good to have you with us tonight. And I don't know if you were listening to me or not, but I just explained why I'm having you on here tonight. And that is because the sermon you preached that was so powerful. Of all Sundays, we've been doing this for over a year. And of all Sundays, this one, there was some glitches in it. We couldn't put it up. That said, while you were preaching and speaking to us, I had to step out at the very opening of your sermon. I had to step out the back. And when I came back in, I didn't want to walk all the way to the front and sit with Mom up in the front row. So I just sat right in the very back seat. And I was sitting right behind a couple that was sitting in front of me. And during your sermon, you had me weeping, tears flowing, streaming down my face, which is hard to do for me in a service like that. And I felt like a fool because these people are sitting right in front of me. I'm back there trying to keep myself quiet as tears are just flowing out of my eyes as I'm thinking about the things you're saying. So we don't have the recording, but I almost wish, I don't know, I know you can't reproduce it, but give us the gist of what you were talking about, because it was just so powerful.
I mean, this is kind of like having you ever have a party or a group of people over at the house and the chemistry is just right and everyone's having a great time. And then you're like, let's do this next weekend. And you have the same people over and you serve the same food and it's just not the same.
Yeah, I know. But this is the best we can do. So
this will be the same situation.
What the story you tell, if you just start telling that story again of what you drew your sermon from. You know what story I'm talking about?
Yeah, the gist of the talk is encouragement and what that means and what our calling actually is. And I think sometimes we as Christians forget what our calling actually is, and our calling is obviously to compel people to come to Christ. But deeper than that, or in addition to that, or maybe leading up to that, perhaps is the right way to say it, I guess, is reaching people's lives, pouring into people's lives. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, that's just what we talked about, just pouring into people's lives, like what it means and how important it is and really what your legacy is.
Yeah, do me a favor and tell the story again of the woman at Diana's bath.
Do you want me to read it? I actually have the story. You want me to read it?
Oh yeah, I would love that. I would love it if you would read it.
Yeah, sure. So basically, the story takes place in a little town in New Hampshire called North Conway. It's in the White Mountains. It's the upper third of the state. We've actually, as a family, vacationed there since I was a kid. And it takes place at a location called Diana's Baths, which we've frequented since I was a little kid. I mean, we've got pictures of me as a little tyke running around there. And this woman just kind of tells a story about her and her husband and her two boys who vacationed from Washington, D.C. up to New Hampshire during the pandemic last summer. And then what occurred. So Diana's Baths is just this large waterfall, section of a river that is multi-tiered and has drop-offs 10, 15, I guess probably 20 feet at the high spots. And she just tells a story about her boys, and they were 8 and 6, I think, or 8 and 9 and 7, something like that. And one of them went over one of the cliffs. And this story, when I read this story, it stuck out to me because I know this place. I know I bet you I know every single cliff and every drop off. You probably do. Yeah,
too. Let me just cut in here and explain to people why this kid could have fallen off a cliff. It's because it's a series of falls. Some are anywhere from 2 feet to, like you said, 12, 13, 14 feet. And what a lot of people do is they will sit in these streams of water will get into the rocks and they'll flow through like a spigot almost. And a lot of people do is they'll sit in them. Some of them are even like little slides, nature-made slides where they slide down the smooth rock into a pool that's down there. So it's not uncommon for people to be sitting on the top of a ledge and slide down 3 or 4 feet into a pool. But this particular one, some of them, like you said, are a little higher and a little more dangerous, and those aren't the ones that you'll jump off or slide down. So it is common to see people at these various levels in Diana's Bath, sliding down some of these things, but there are dangerous spots.
The story sticks out to me because I've been there with my kids and had the same fears that this woman has that she describes in the story. So she says we had hiked about a half a mile to a popular spot called Diana's Baths near the town of Conway, where the water falls off a series of flat boulders layered up the mountainside. The baths were full of families. We made our way to one of the upper levels of rock to keep our distance. Both where we sat and down below the water cascaded and fell into small pools where kids in beige swimsuits were splashing around. I watched as some younger parents nervously corralled their toddlers away from the rock's edges, feeling grateful that my husband and I were out of that stage, that our kids, 6 and 8, could navigate their physical space with more confidence. Don't get me wrong, I was still terrified as I saw my two boys jump between the slippery rocks. No running, I said again and again. stay away from all those edges. But I soon relaxed, and we were all having fun, splashing in the pools, my kids laughing as my husband dunked his head under the cold running water. Then seconds later, every fear I'd ever had rose to the surface. I turned and saw my son Wyatt sitting down between two boulders in a fast-moving stream. I yelled at him to get out. He yelled back something that I couldn't hear, and then he disappeared over the edge. And all I remember from the moments after is screaming over and over again like a prayer, "Somebody help my son." I didn't even know what help he needed because I couldn't force myself to look. My husband was already sprinting down the rocks. I finally looked. Wyatt was sitting up. He was alive. My biggest fear erased. As I held my younger son, Jed, close, I heard another woman scream, "That child went over the waterfall," she shouted at her husband. "We are leaving." They walked away. They never even looking back to see whether our child was okay. It was about 12 feet from the top of the waterfall to the pool below, which was studded with large rocks, and Wyatt had fallen on his back straight onto the rocks. That's what Lisa told us. We didn't know her name was Lisa at that point. All we knew was that while everyone else looked on from a distance, too afraid or unbothered to help, this petite brunette with a mask didn't hesitate. In fact, by the time I had climbed down the rocks and my husband had pulled Wyatt out of the water, she had already called 911. She told me she was a nurse. She gave Wyatt a red, white, and blue striped towel to put under his head, and she implored us to keep him still and on his back in case he had injured his spinal cord. I finally had the wherewithal to ask her name. "Lisa," she said, "and I'm not leaving you." And the story just illustrates the fact that when we're working with people, when we're interacting with people, when we're dealing with people, everyone's got a story and everyone's got a situation and everyone's got pain. Everyone's got things going on in their lives. And it's our responsibility. It's our calling. It's our mission. It should be our cause to pour into people and let them be a Lisa, let them know. She goes on in the story to talk about how the stream, the side of the stream there was full of families and none of them stepped forward. None of them engaged her or her family. And, there's a reason why that happens. And I think if any of us put ourselves in that story, we have to ask the question, would I step out from the side of the stream? Would I have engaged this woman and her family? And oftentimes, if I'm being honest, I don't know that I would. As much as I sit here on a podcast and talk at church and bring this story, I'm not sure I would. And the reasons that I'm not sure I would is a big one is fear. There's a fear of failure, a fear of looking stupid in that situation because we think, well, I'm not a nurse. I'll just be in the way. Maybe she doesn't want me near her. Maybe she's embarrassed. I'm just going to stand over here and stay out of the way. And we justify. And this is an extreme example. Obviously, it's a crisis, a physical crisis situation. But everyone's going through something, and some people are going through crisis, and sometimes it's mental, and sometimes it's illness, and sometimes it's something going on at home. Sometimes it's death in a family. And we're not counselors, and we're not therapists, but sometimes it's enough. Always it's enough. Always it's required for us to step out from the side of the stream and stand next to somebody and say, "I'm Jamison, and I'm not leaving you. And I don't know what you're going through, and I don't know how to fix it, and I don't know what to say, and I don't have the wisdom of the situation. I don't have knowledge. I don't know how to do this for you, but I want you to know that I'm going to stand here with you." And if we as Christians are willing to do that in our space, in our circle, if we're willing to step out from the shadows and just tell people, I don't have the answers, but I can pray. I don't have the understanding of your situation. I don't even need to know the details, but I'm going to stand here with you. And if you look at that story where one person named Lisa stepped out and helped this woman and affected her family to the point that she wrote an article in a nationally published magazine about this situation, about Lisa, what would that story have been like if 2, 3, 5, 10 people had stepped out from the stream, from the side of the stream, and stood next to this woman and her family and said, "We don't know how to fix this, but we want you to know we're with you. We want you to know we're going to stand here in solidarity with you until this story comes to a conclusion." What would that do, in your circle? What would that do in our world if there was people were just willing to step out and say those things at risk of sounding stupid, at risk of being maybe ridiculed or criticized? I think encouragement, the act of encouragement, is an absolute game changer. It's a game changer in our workplaces. It's a game changer in our schools. It's a game changer in our neighborhoods, and it's a game changer in our churches. The act of encouragement, the act of telling somebody, I'm here with you. And here's the other thing. Not only do we have fear of failure, we also have this I think, idea that we judge people's situations. Look at it this way. If you've got a young kid, a daughter or a son, probably more of a daughter, I guess, who's 12, 13, 14, 15 years old and has a boyfriend, right? A little school boyfriend, and they break up. And we look at that and we chuckle to ourselves, right? Oh, the first love, no big deal. But to that person, to that child, it's a earth-shattering experience. Many people can remember their first love because it's such an impactful experience on a young teen. And we have to remember that, even though we can, we can't judge people's situations and say it's not that big of a deal, because for that person, it can be life-changing. For that person, it is life. It's the essence of what they're going through. And, don't be scared of failure, and don't judge someone's situation and say it's no big deal. Because for them, it is a big deal.
Yeah, I think, when you say that sometimes we're afraid to step up and stand next to somebody, if you're in an accident scene, situation like that, and there are professionals there, you don't want to get in their way by any stretch of the imagination. But sometimes when the professional is there, incidentally, I have a note here. Someone's saying that the video is currently frozen and no sound. And I know your video locked up a couple of times there. So I just want to make sure if someone give us a note, let us know that everything's okay. It looks okay on my end. It looks like it's been okay. I mean, your video is,
Yeah, we live up in the boondocks.
Yeah. But it's I think it was good enough. Good now. Okay, it says good now. All right. So, but the powerful statement in that to me is now I got text messages coming in. Video's good. Okay, so we're good. We're good to go there. Thank you, everybody. The powerful statement to me was when what's the girl's name? Lisa. And Lisa said, I'm here and I'm not going to leave you just because this emergency is over and, whatever, I'm not going to leave you. Sometimes there's nothing anybody can do. There's nothing you can do. There's just nothing anybody can do except stand there and wait to see how it's all going to play out. And to know that someone's going to stand there with you is that just tears. I want to be the somebody that will walk up to somebody that's going through a situation that I can maybe do nothing about, but let them know I'll go through this with you. I don't have an answer. I can't fix the problem, but I will go through this with you. I will stand here with you. And it's interesting. I just want to throw this out because this, I follow the UPC, the United Pentecostal Church, on Twitter, or maybe this was Facebook. I think this was Facebook, actually. I follow them on Facebook also. And it was 5 days ago today. So that would be, what's today? Tuesday? No, today's Wednesday. So you got Tuesday, Monday, Sunday, last Friday, which is almost a week after you spoke this and preached this message. And this was a Facebook post that the United Pentecostal Church put out. You ready for this? It simply said this: be an encourager. Kind words cost nothing and can mean everything to others.
Yeah.
I read that and I thought, man, that's just what we heard this past Sunday. Be an encourager. Sometimes the encourager does nothing except come up next to somebody and say, I can't do anything about what you're going through, but I will stand here with you and go through it with you.
Yeah. And this is, all of us have gone through something in our life that, you could describe as a crisis, right? So you always tell the story of when mom had her stroke and Stephen Beatty was with you. And I remember when I had an injury and I had to go to the hospital and spend the night in the hospital for the first time in my life. And I remember being scared out of my mind. And I still remember the people that reached out to me via text and Facebook Messenger, people that I hadn't talked to, some of them in years and years and years, who just sent me a message and said, hey, I know what it's like first time going to the hospital for surgery. I'm thinking of you. I'm praying for you, whatever. Those people that reached out to me, I could name every one of them to you right now because they impacted me that, just the fact that they reached out, they didn't fix my injury. They didn't conduct the surgery. They weren't even there when I came out of surgery, but the fact that they reached out and here's the thing that I believe firmly. It doesn't matter at the end of your story, when your story's complete and the last chapter is closed on your book, and people come and visit your family at your funeral service, whatever that looks like and wherever it's held. Nobody's going to come up and say, wow, they were really good at their career. They had a beautiful home. They had a really nice car. I really appreciated your husband, your son, your father, your mom, your whatever, wife, etc., your aunt, because they were such a good cook. Well, maybe they would say that actually. They're gonna. No one's gonna say that. They're not gonna mention your physical achievements. They're gonna come up and talk about, or at least I want them to come talk about what I poured into them. Hey, when I was in a crisis, your father was there for me and wouldn't let me go through it alone. Not offered help, wouldn't let me go alone. Your father, when I was at a crossroads, a decision of my life of what direction I was going to go in, your father took the time out of his schedule to pour into me and give me whatever he had to offer to help me make that decision. It's not going to be about what you achieved. It's going to be about who you affected.
Yeah, who you encouraged.
That goes to the it's going to be about who you affected. And if we don't grasp that concept, then we're missing the point. We're missing the point of this journey.
And we're
missing the point of why we're here.
Yeah, when you brought up Steve Beatty in that sermon, it just so powerfully hit me when you said Steve Beatty. When mom was, I'm talking about as you. When you said mom, it was your mom, my wife. But when she had her stroke, the thing Steve Beatty did was, he's not a medical professional. He knows nothing about how to take care of stroke victims. He knows nothing about recovery process. He knows nothing about what to do during the crisis. Nothing about it. But the one thing he said that has impacted me more than anything that took place through that whole circumstance was he simply said to me, I'm not going to leave you alone. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't help in any way except to stand there with me. And it gave me strength to do that. And that so impacted me that you don't have to be a professional. You don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to have all the understanding. You just need to stand with somebody. Tell them, I'm going to stand there with you. I will stand here with you. You know, and that when you brought that out, that brought me to tears too, because I remember how I felt that day when I was, I was in my world exploded. You know what I'm saying? My world crumbled around me. And one man who was there said, I will not leave you alone. I can't do anything about this, but you will not go through this alone. And that got me through it. Of course, God worked a miracle, but I didn't know that at the time. You know, so it is so powerful just to be an encourager, just to stand with somebody. You know, so I want to thank you for that message. I want to thank you for reminding us that we just need to be encouragers. We need to encourage one another.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And if you mind me throwing out another plug for Steve Beatty?
Wow, it's your podcast.
let me tell you what kind of a man. Let me tell you what kind of a man Steve Beatty is. Okay, Steve Beatty himself had a heart attack several years ago. God miraculously got him through it. He's doing great. But he was on his way to the hospital having a heart attack, knew it was a heart attack, and did not know if he was going to survive. He did not know he was going to live. Listen to what this man said to his wife while he was going to the hospital, not knowing if he was going to come back out again. This is what he said. He said, listen, Virginia, he said, in my bank account, I've got X amount of hundreds of dollars. And it is money that this person gave me to do the job, the boiler or furnace, whatever he was working on, to do the job for them. And if I die, I'm not going to be able to do that job. I want you to know that that money is theirs and make sure they get it back. And this, I preached about that. And this is what I preached. I said, a lot of people, if they're facing a crisis and they might die, they're trying to make their next life right. They're trying to get things right for their next life. Steve Beatty had that together. He had his next life already together. He was trying to make sure this life was going to be fixed after he's gone with anything he left behind. And it's that kind of outward focus of focusing on others and being an encourager and not being so self-centered that everything's about how I feel and how I think and what I'm going through, but to look around and see, because I would dare say, and you can agree with me or maybe give some more insight. I would dare say that every day we go out into this world, there's somebody that could use an encouraging word. Maybe not even somebody you know, but somebody could use an encouraging word.
Yeah, well, you're 100% right. And the advice there is be specific. Like the example I make in the workplace is don't just tell someone that hey, nice job today. Tell them why it was a nice job. Yeah. Don't just tell a waiter at the restaurant, hey, thank you. Tell them why they did a great job for you and your family. It makes a big difference, and it carries a lot of weight. And I think I referenced Truett Cathy, who founded Chick-fil-A, and he asked the question, how do you know someone needs encouragement? And he answered the question by saying, they're breathing.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's true. I mean, you got to live outside yourself. It's kind of life 101, but you got to live outside yourself.
Yep. And I'll tell you something else, and we'll wrap it up with this. I don't want to just keep beating a dead horse, but I'll tell you something else. If we focused outwardly and tried to encourage others instead of about how we feel and trying to get someone to encourage us, we ourselves would be lifted. We are lifted as we lift others. And
well, you can't focus on your problems, or you can't be selfish when you're focused on somebody else.
No, you can't. And part of the problem with our world around us is everybody is so concerned with how they feel and how they're being made to feel. And if we would do as the Bible really instructs us to give, and when we say give, we're not just talking finances or whatever. Give emotionally. Give an encouraging word. Give is looking outward. If we would focus on being outward-minded people instead of inward, we would be much happier people, I think.
Yeah. No, it's true. So
I think we would all do well to wake up in the morning and say, who can I help today? Who can I be a blessing to today? So that's what I'm going to do tomorrow morning. Who can I be a blessing to? Help me have my eyes open, because it might be somebody I don't know.
That's right.
Head
should be on a swivel. Our head should be on a swivel, looking for somebody to impact.
There you go. Good.
All right, Dad.
Jamison, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for that message. That was powerful. I want to apologize that we had a glitch and it didn't get recorded. I want to thank you for coming on today and rehashing it and reminding us that it's all about doing unto others what we would want done to ourselves, not looking for someone to do it to us, but looking for someone that we can do it to. And give to. Amen.
All right, Dad. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamison. God bless you. And I will see you this Sunday at church. No, I'll see you tomorrow morning. We got a little job we're doing I'm going to help you out with. So I'll see you in the morning, but we'll look forward to having a great service this Sunday. Amen.
See ya.
God bless you. Love you. Bye. Okay. Well, that's that, folks. Thank you for joining us tonight, and be an encourager. And I want to read one more time these words that the United Pentecostal Church put out on their Facebook post that simply said, be an encourager. Kind words cost nothing and can mean everything to somebody else. They cost nothing, could mean everything. God bless you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Looking forward to seeing you. Don't forget, we have our seminars this Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, also 11 o'clock. Both of those are going to be live streamed to YouTube only, not Facebook, but YouTube. Make sure you join in. If you can't come to the building will be open. You can join in, you can come in. And if you can't even join in at the appropriate time, as you know, these seminars will be left up on YouTube. You can view them at your convenience. God bless you. thank you, and I appreciate you joining us tonight. Have a great rest of the week, and we will see you Saturday, if not before. God bless you.